All right, let's talk about a situation that every manager, every business owner has faced. Your sales have dropped. What's the first thing you think of doing? For most of us, the instinct is to cut the price. But what if that's not just the wrong move, but a move that could make things even worse? Today, we're going to dig into the difference between a shift and a movement in demand. And trust me, understanding this isn't just some dry economic theory. It is probably one of the most powerful diagnostic tools you can have.
So picture this. You're staring at the weekly report, and the sales numbers have just fallen off a cliff. Your gut, your instinct, is screaming at you. Slash the prices. Get people back in the door. It feels like the obvious, intuitive thing to do, doesn't it? But is it the right move? This single decision, right here, is what separates a reactive manager from a truly strategic leader.
And here's why that's such a dangerous gamble. Jumping straight to a solution without a proper diagnosis, well, it's a bit like a doctor prescribing strong medication without even knowing what the illness is. The wrong prescription doesn't just fail to help, it can be actual poison to your bottom line. You could be destroying your profit margins and cheapening your brand for absolutely no good reason.
To avoid that kind of disaster, you need a diagnostic tool. And in the world of business and economics, that tool is the demand curve. It's basically a simple graph that shows the relationship between your product's price and how much of it people are actually willing to buy. This little curve holds the key to answering the single most important question you can ask. Why did my sales change?
Okay, so this is the absolute core of it. Every single change in your sales will fall into one of these two buckets. On the left, you've got a movement. A movement is simple. You change your price, and as a result, you just move to a different point on the exact same demand curve. But on the right, you've got a shift. And a shift, that's a total game changer. Some outside factor, like a new competitor or a change in customer tastes, has created a brand new demand curve. The fundamental desire for your product has changed.
Let's zoom in on a movement for a second. The best way to think about your demand curve is like it's a fixed map of what your customers want. When you change your price, all you're doing is moving from one point to another on that same map. The landscape itself hasn't changed, just the cost of getting to a destination. For any manager, the real question here is all about price elasticity. You know, how sensitive are your customers to that price change? That's what determines how far you move along that map for every dollar you adjust.
A shift, on the other hand, is a whole different animal. This is a fundamental redrawing of the entire map. The old one is basically useless now. This means that at every single price point, whether it's high, low, or in the middle, a different number of people now want to buy your product. And these shifts are caused by those big external forces. You know, things like a recession hitting people's incomes, a competitor launching a killer product, or some new technology making your offering obsolete. The whole game has changed.
Theory is great, but let's make this real. We're going to walk through two really simple but powerful scenarios with a hotel to see exactly how this diagnostic tool works in the real world and what it means for your decisions.
So in our first scenario, the hotel manager is in the driver's seat. They make a deliberate internal choice. They decide to raise their room rates, probably hoping to boost their revenue per customer.
And look at the result. It's exactly what you'd expect from Econ 101. The price goes up from 1 million to 1.5 million rupiah, and what happens? Occupancy drops. This is a direct, predictable reaction along that existing demand curve. Fewer people are willing to book a room at that new higher price. Essentially, the manager was testing the price elasticity of their demand, and they found the point where some customers said, nope, not worth it anymore.
So the diagnosis here is crystal clear. This is a classic movement along the demand curve. Nothing about the market changed. The only variable that changed was the hotel's own price, and customers responded. The big takeaway for a manager here is that this outcome was a direct consequence of their own action. The market fundamentals were stable. Their pricing strategy was the variable.
Okay, now let's flip the script completely for scenario B. This time, our hotel manager does absolutely nothing. They keep their prices exactly the same. But something big, something outside the hotel's control, changes everything.
Now look closely at this cause and effect. A brand new airport opens up nearby. Notice the hotel's price is unchanged. It's still 1 million rupiah, but their occupancy doubles. Suddenly, a flood of new travelers has entered the market and they all need a place to stay. This is a perfect example of how a change in a complementary good, in this case air travel, can cause a massive positive shift in demand for your product.
So what's the diagnosis? It's a textbook shift of the demand curve. The entire curve has literally moved to the right, which means there's way more demand at every price. The hotel's own price was irrelevant to this change. An external event redrew the entire map of their market. A really savvy manager would see this and immediately realize, wait a minute, I now have pricing power that I didn't have yesterday. I can probably raise my prices now without seeing a drop in occupancy.
Okay, so we have these two very different diagnoses for why sales might change. You might be wondering, why is getting this right so critical? Well, it's because the correct diagnosis leads to the correct prescription. And if you misdiagnose the problem, your cure, it could actually make the patient sicker.
This all boils down to a clear 4-step process for you to use. Step 1. Observe the symptom. Sales are up or down. Step 2. Identify the cause. Was it something I did with my price, or was it an external factor? Step 3. Diagnose the condition. Is it a movement or a shift? And only then, once you've done that work, can you get to Step 4 and prescribe the right cure. It's a framework for thinking, not just for reacting.
And this slide right here shows you that critical fork in the road. If you're dealing with a movement, which is a problem you created with the price change, the fix is usually tactical. You just need to adjust your price. But if you're facing a shift where the market or a competitor has changed the game, the problem is now strategic. A price cut is just a flimsy band-aid. The real cure is to fundamentally improve your value proposition. That might mean renovating, remarketing, or innovating to compete in this new reality.
So let's leave you with this final thought exercise. A new competitor opens up right next door, and they've got a much better swimming pool. Your occupancy starts to drop. That new pool, that's a fundamental shift in the competitive landscape. Your gut might scream to get into a price war. But now you know the real question isn't just about price, is it? It's about value. Do you need a cheaper price, or do you need a better pool? Because in a shifting market, competing on price is a race to the bottom, but competing on value, that's how you win.